I think all I have to say is 7 matches. Sorry, guys, for starting a little bit late. But as I said there at the top, we do have a lot of matches to cover. But welcome, everybody, to After Action Report here on the Call to Action channel, your numbers recap show for all Schmodown matches to keep you caught up on all the action. As always, I'm your host, Megs, here, and also, as always, with Nat. Nat, we had a crazy weekend for Schmodown. What more can I say?
I mean, I am so tired. I say all the time that we have a lot to talk about, but that's never been more true than this week. Oh boy, let's just get right into it. I mean, there's just so much to talk about.
Absolutely. We are still going to try and keep this under 45 minutes, so best of luck to us. If you guys have comments or questions you want to get thrown in there, please go ahead and use the Streamlabs link above. I'll be checking that periodically. But as I said, we're going to be covering everything from this week. So that includes top of the week, Star Wars match between John Hoey and Nikki DiMolanta, team's #1 contender qualifier match between Danger Zone and Lightning Time, the first match of the singles tournament, round 1, Josh Horowitz versus Jen Kemp. Then the big event that was the Schmodown Collision, the Star Wars title match, Andrew DiMolanta versus Laura Kelly, IG #1 contender match against Saul and ANARU Moses, a singles #1 contender match between Marisol McKee and Kevin Smith, and finally rounding out the whole event with a teams title match between Shazam and Korruption. And before we just really dive into here, I wanted to make just a couple quick comments in here. We're going to have seen the team's record broken yet again. We're going to get to that there at the end of this week with the teams match between Shazam and Korruption. And we had the return of in-studio matches and a championship match to boot, with the studio matches returning to the buzzer round. We're going to be talking all about that towards the end. And we also saw quite a few appearances by the Quirky Mercs. They took up 4 out of the 7 matches, as well as the usual suspects actually had 3 out of the 7 matches come through on their side as well. So some big moments for these guys, and not surprising that now the Quirky Mercs took over first place, not counting the match that dropped today, which is the first match of the IG tournament. We'll get into all into that next week, but this week, we're going to be jumping right into our first match, which was a Star Wars match between John Hoey and Nikki DiMolanta. Decided to refer to her as Dimmy over here, just to not, she is her own person. She is proving to be a force inside this league on her own, with the idea of being up by 3, 8, or 11 to 8, coming out of that first round. Perfect round plus the bonus. Not much more I can say about that. Coming into the second round, we ended up seeing Dimmy defers over to Hoey, who spins opponent's choice and ends up being given mixed bag, where he comes away with 8 out of 10 possible points, not checking down to multiple choice, but does give up a 2-point steal. And we see Nikki come in and take The Force Awakens on her first spin, and she goes 9 out of 10, checking down multiple choice once, but not giving up any steals. Nat, what did you think of this round?
Sorry, just want to jump in real quick and just say that mixed bag was absolutely the right choice, 100%. If you can get your opponent to give up a steal in a Star Wars match, then you pretty much have it won. Like, that's huge. That's where the momentum really swung for me.
Absolutely, and that ends up being a 4-point swing because it was a 2-pointer. He decided to go for it and was incorrect, so that results in a big swing there, where Denny ends up with gaining 3 points to now be up 6, 22 to 16, going into the third and final round, where Hoey hits all 3 of his questions. Props to him on that. He hits a 2-pointer in Revenge of the Sith, 3-pointer in Rogue One, and a 5-pointer in Solo. But then Dimmy returns and only has to hit her 2-pointer in Clone Wars and a 3-pointer in Planets and Locations, which does give her the win with a final score of 27 to 26, where John Hoey answered 15 of 18 questions for 83% accuracy and scored 84% of 31 available points. Nikki DiMolanta answered 19 of 19 questions for 100% accuracy and scored 96% of 28 available points, only checking down to that one multiple choice there in round 2 to take her off of 100% potential points earned. And I will reference this a couple different times during, but please go ahead and check out the rookie report that I did last week. I addressed this match. I waited until after this match had dropped before I did that, but really comparing where all these rookies are standing as we're coming into Collision and the tournaments coming into the end of the year. But Nikki made a very strong showing here in her very first round, and super excited to see, should she be in the tournament for the usual suspects, what kind of waves she can make and what kind of upsets she can bring out.
Yeah.
Nat, do you have anything else before we jump into the next one?
I absolutely agree. I think she's going to make a huge impact if she is in the tournament. We said that she's her own person, so we're not going to tie her to her husband. But there is something to be said for having a partner who is the Star Wars champion. That's a lot of studying you're doing. So I definitely think that it is a huge advantage to have a significant other who's as good as Andrew DiMolanta is in the same division. That is huge. This family is just unstoppable at Star Wars. I mean, she got all her questions right. That's amazing to me. I don't think this could have gone any better for her.
Absolutely. And for John, no knock on him. He's still a very strong competitor. Just hit a couple there in that first round he didn't know, and took a swing and a miss there in that round too. And in this division, that is all it takes. And what can you do against perfect? What more can we say to that? We have said it multiple times. It's a little bit like a broken record. But let's go ahead and move into our next match, which was Danger Zone versus Lightning Time. This is a #1 contender qualifying match. The winner of this goes on to face Final Exam. Coming out of the first round, a little bit of an unusually low-scoring round for these two teams. Lightning Time is up by 1, 12-11, where Liz hits 7 points, Merle with 6, Bateman and Irwin both coming out of the round with 5. So again, Lightning Time's only up by 1. They decide to defer to Danger Zone, and Danger Zone takes Lucasfilm on their first spin, and they come away with 11 out of 12 points, only checking out a multiple choice once, but not giving up any steals. Lightning Time spins away from Sean Connery, ends up spinning opponent's choice, and they are given Sean Connery in that round where they decide to go for it, and they come away with 10 out of 12 points, where they checked on multiple choice once, and they give up that check down for a multiple choice steal. So they litigate the damage by only making it a 2-point swing, but Danger Zone does gain 2 points to now be up by 1, 23-22, going into the third and final round, where Liz hits a 2-pointer romantic comedies, Bateman hits his 2-pointer in romance, Irwin hits a 3-pointer in crime, Merle hits a 3-pointer in action adventure. Back and forth, bouncing back and forth there. Danger Zone misses their 5-pointer in Tom Hanks, which does give Lightning Time the win because they hit their 5 in Modern Classics. Gives them the win with a final score of 32-28, where Danger Zone answered 20 of 26 questions for 77% accuracy and scored 68% of 41 available points. Lightning Time answered 20 of 25 questions for 80% accuracy and scored 80% of 40 available points. So not a super exciting match here. It was a tough test for both teams. Let me just put it that way. Round 1 was below what we would expect from this caliber of team, but those happen. As we get deeper and deeper into the season, I think the writing staff is really upping their game to make it a little bit tougher for these competitors to get those perfect rounds, to make them feel earned. And yes, Jake, thank you for reminding me. Do check out the C2A Live, where we had Nikki DiMolanta and John Hoey on, as well as some people from In the Collision. So be sure to check that out. It was a big ensemble group there, a lot of fun to be had over there. Some good lines came out of that one as I was hearing reports back. So let's go ahead and anything else from this one?
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't either team's best match, but the questions, I imagine, were really hard. I mean, they're always hard for me because I don't know the movie trivia that well. But to see none of these 4 people get a perfect first round, that speaks volumes. And I think that at this level of competition, especially in the teams division, like when these top caliber teams face off, it's really just a coin toss and who wins because they're all so evenly matched. And you're going to see a lot of top tier teams lose because of a tough 5-pointer, and that's exactly what we saw during this match. So that's going to happen. I really think Danger Zone will bounce back because they're a super team. Like, they're going to win no matter what in the future.
And the fact that even though they lost this qualifying match, they do still are eligible to jump into the teams tournament. So we will very likely see them there later on in this season. But let's jump into the next match. Speaking of tournaments, we got to see the first match of the singles ultimate tournament, round 1, Josh Horowitz against Jen Kemp. Again, please refer to that rookie report. Josh Horowitz has been very impressive early on here in this career. And this was a little bit of a scrap between these two. We have Horowitz being up by 2, 9-7 coming out of that first round. He is able to get the perfect round plus the bonus, Jen missing only 1. So there's a 2-point difference between these guys going into the second round. Horowitz decides to spin first. He spins opponent's choice and is given Black Cinema, where he ends up coming away with 4 out of 8 points. He doesn't check that on multiple choice, but does give up 2 2-point steals. Again, he goes for it. We see a fairly significant swing here in this round. Jen decides to take Whoopi Goldberg on her first spin, and she comes away with 4 out of 8. But she checks down to multiple choice twice and gives up both of those for 2-point steals. So there were 4-point steals and then 2 points worth of steals. So that does give Jen a gain of 2 to be in the lead, and actually they're tied 15-15. So Josh was up by 2. She gains 2, now they're tied. Let me re-clarify that. Coming into the third round, we saw Jen hit a 2-pointer in Pixar, Horowitz hits a 2-pointer in sports, Kemp 3-pointer in comedies, Horowitz 3-pointer in new releases. Jen misses her 5-pointer in spy movies, so they're still tied. But Josh hits his 5-pointer in directors, which does give him the win with a final score of 25-20, where Josh Horowitz answered 16 of 18 questions for 89% accuracy, scored 86% of 29 available points, and Jen Kemp answered 13 of 17 questions for 77% accuracy and scored 65% of 31 available points. Both of these guys had a little bit of struggles there in that second round, but they still gave a pretty solid showing for Jen's second singles match of this year, and this is Josh's third match of his rookie season. What else are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I just talked about like 5-pointers like ruining a match for someone, and there's right here. There's evidence. I think that Josh Horowitz matches are quickly becoming must-see. Like, they're always so entertaining. They're always nail-biters. And Jen Kemp has really impressed me this season. I think she will bounce back. I think that it was just the questions she was dealt this match were probably a little rough. Like, I know she's stuck with Whoopi Goldberg, and hindsight is 2020. You can say, like, she would have had a better round if she picked a different category or spun away from it. But it's pretty much just the question you're asked. Like, sometimes you know them, sometimes you don't. So very, very impressive showing by both of these two. I can't wait to see Josh Horowitz' next match because, like I said, they're becoming must-see.
Absolutely. I think that is definitely true to be said, and he definitely was very impressive when I looked back at his rookie season thus far. So very looking forward to what we're going to see from him later on in this tournament. But with that, we have come to the end of the regular week, and we're going to be diving right into the collision. 4 matches, 2 in studio, 2 digital. Without further ado, let's dive into this. So starting off, oh my goodness, a Star Wars title match, a rerun of something from 2 years ago, Andrew DiMolanta against Laura Kelly. Yeah, let's just dive right into this one. We saw Kelly was up by 2, 9-7. She does not get that perfect round, neither of them achieving perfect rounds, but a challenge on the Rogue One question does give her the 2-point advantage, challenging the wording of a question. Moving into our second round, Kelly decides to spin first. She takes Rogue One on her first spin. She comes away with 8 out of 10 points, checking out a multiple choice once, and she does give up a 1-point steal. Coming over to DiMolanta's round, he decides to take the Phantom Menace on his first spin. he goes 9 out of 10, checking down a multiple choice once, but no steal opportunities. So we see that Demolanta gains 2 points to where they are now tied at 17, going into our third round, which is the betting round, where for intensive purposes, Demolanta spins Return of the Jedi. There was no spinner or opponent's choice on the wheel, so it didn't really matter. But they end up with Return of the Jedi, and they both answer correctly for 3 points. So we're still tied, 20 all, going into
It's a Star Wars match, so you have to bet 3 points. Like, they absolutely made the right decision there.
Pretty much, yes. That's about, unless there is a real big discrepancy, you pretty much always guarantee that a Star Wars competitor is going to bet 3. But this speed round got rather interesting. Demolanta decides to defer over to Kelly, and Laura passes on questions 2, 4, and 10, and she's able to answer question 2 before the time expired, but she answers questions 2 and 7 incorrectly. So she answers 6 out of 8 questions to come away with 4 points, with the misses deducting your points by 1. Then we go over to Demolanta, who passes also on questions 2 and 10. He's able to answer question 2 before the time expires. A little bit of a pattern here. But he does answer question 4 incorrect. So he is able to answer 8 out of 9 correct, to where he comes away with 7 points in this round. I think both of these guys struggled a little bit in this speed round. Kelly was looked a little taken aback by how this round went. Nat, what did you think about these questions?
Yeah, I mean, what did I think about the questions? I always think they're impossible, because like these questions I will have no shot of answering. But I mean, I really
just their reactions to it seemed like they were struggling a little bit.
It feels like these were probably harder than the questions they usually get. And kudos to the question writers. I mean, it certainly makes things more interesting. Like you're not gonna see perfect games every time, and that's really kind of shocking to hear when you're talking about the Star Wars division, especially in a championship match. So I'm very into the harder question, very much into it.
Absolutely. So with these changes here, we see that Demolanta ends up gaining 3 points to be now up 3, 27-24, coming into the final championship round, where Kelly hits a 2 and 3-pointer in Droids and the Empire Strikes Back, bounces it back over to Demolanta, who hits a 2 and 3-pointer in Rogue One and Who Said It, respectively. Over to the 5-pointers, Kelly hits hers in The Force Awakens, but Demolanta also hits his in Vehicles, Weapons, and Technology, which does give Demolanta the win and the title defense with a final score of 37-34, where Andrew Demolanta answered 25 of 29 questions for 86% accuracy, scored 82% of 45 available points, and Laura Kelly answered 23 of 27 questions for 85% accuracy and scored 77% of 44 available points. You want to say something? I can see the posturing.
Yeah. So I think it's very good that the questions around and the speed round are very good, because like that Boba Fett question, I have no doubt if Laura Kelly had that question in like the 5th round, she would have gotten there. But because of the pressure of the speed round, that is a very good question to have in the speed round, and it certainly tripped her up. So very interesting to see.
Yes, absolutely. So Andrew Demolanta defends. This is setting him up for tying Alex Damon's defense record in 1 year. Definitely some very interesting conversations will be had once we get moving on here. But
my heart is actually broken for Laura Kelly, but you know, you've seen me on the show before. You know who to stop doubting. So
absolutely.
not surprised that Andrew Demolanta pulled the win, but he has such a tall task in front of him in the form of Thomas Harper. That's going to be a good match.
And I mean, not to mention, for swag, either Ace Cabrera or Laura Kelly have some beef with Demolanta, so it's going to be. Whoever comes out of that tournament, too, is going to be hot on the trail of trying to get that title as well. But yes, thank you to Ben Rayner for the $5 super chat there. Yes, those speed round questions did get pretty tricky. So that is just, hey, competitors were asking to make the questions harder. the writers delivered. What can you say? Don't be careful what you ask for. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into our next match here. So we are looking at our first in-studio match. I was getting chills watching this. Just so you know, just the whole atmosphere of it was amazing to see. But this is the number one contender match. Saul against ANARU Moses. Coming out of the first round, ANARU is up by 1, 8-7. Both of them having, again, a couple tricky questions there that tripped them both up. But ANARU was able to get that 1 point advantage. Go ahead.
I will say that it did break my heart that neither of them knew the Power Rangers question. How do you not know Zach Taylor's the Black Ranger? I'm sorry. That's just my one grievance of this match.
Okay. Your grievance has been aired and is under advisement. So moving on over into our second round, we have ANARU defers over to Saul, who very quickly decides to take Planet of the Apes on, well, not very quickly, but he does decide to take Planet of the Apes on his first spin. Feels very confident about that. He ends up coming away with 6 out of 10 points. He does check down multiple choice twice and gives up a 2-point steal there on that very first question. Going down to ANARU's spin, he ends up spinning spinner's choice and takes graphic novels off of that and ends up coming away with 9 out of 10, checking down the multiple choice once, but not giving up any steals. And as I was reviewing back, this is the second time in the past couple weeks that Planet of the Apes has not been kind to an IG competitor.
Yeah.
Jesse Swift ended up with it last week. Did not fare too well for him, and it was a tough one for Saul as well. Expect with the type of confidence he's coming in, you expect him to just run the category. But some of those older Planet of the Apes movies can be tricky. So
there's a lot of Planet of the Apes movies, and Planet of the Apes is quickly becoming the biggest heel in any geekdom. But
we shall see.
Good for ANARU for finally getting a category he wants in round 2. That's good for him.
Absolutely, yes. So with that, ANARU does gain 5 points to be up by 6, 19-13, going into the third and final round, where Saul hits a 2- and 3-pointer in Dystopian Future and Time Travel and Alien and Predator. That's a lot of ands, respectively, for 2 and 3 points, but he misses a 5-pointer in Batman, which does give ANARU Moses the win via TKO, 19-18, where Saul answered 13 of 18 questions for 72% accuracy and scored 58% of 31 available points. ANARU Moses answered 14 of 16 questions for 88% accuracy, scored 83% of 23 available points. Now, yes, Planet of the Apes was a little bit of a struggle, but now you have Saul in an IG tournament. Again.
A very angry, very motivated Saul.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Sorry to anyone. But yeah, awesome job for ANARU, 2-1 2-0 coming into this match. Now going to 3-0 with a number one contender win to face up against either Kalinowski or Chandru later on down in this season. And again, checking out that rookie report, ANARU has been putting up some pretty impressive numbers for his rookie season, despite the fact that he's been less than pleased. He's growing into what he feels his potential is, which is a scary concept for anyone who's looking to face him. So very interested to see what else is going to be coming out of this.
This match did not go the way I expected it. I expected it to be very, very close with Saul just inching it out. I certainly did not expect a TKO. And with that said, I will no longer be doubting ANARU Moses. The guy is the real deal. And he certainly has shown that he has lived up to all the hype that was put upon him. I definitely am very interested in Saul's next match, which is in the IG tournament against Brandon Hanna, the person who he lost to last season.
Oh, yes.
So, that's going to be one that I'm very much looking forward to.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to be chugging right along. We go back into the digital realm here on this collision with another number one contender match, but this time in singles. We have Lady Justice Marisol McKee against Kevin Goodenough Smith. Something that I'll just say up top, two very different approaches to the game. I'm just going to say that. The way that they come at the game, the way they present themselves in the match, one a little more goofy, a little more jovial, but still answering questions. The other one, down to business. We're going to come in here and we're going to take care of business. But coming out of that first round, Marisol is up by 4, 9-5. After Smith attempts to get another question to bring that down to 3, he is unsuccessful, but Marisol is able to get that perfect round, 9-5. Coming into the second round, she decides to spin first. She spins away from 1980s and ends up taking Reese Witherspoon. So she ends up being able to come away with 5 out of 8 points there. She checks down to multiple choice twice and gives up one of those for a 1-point steal. Coming over to Kevin Smith, he spins spinner's choice.
He didn't get the steal.
Oh, no, he did not get the steal. Yes. And Smith decides to take Matt and Ben on spinner's choice and sweeps the round for the full 8 out of 8, not giving up any steal opportunities either. So Kevin ends up gaining 3 points, but Marisol is still up by 1, 14-13, going into the next round, which would be the final round, where Smith hits a 2-pointer in Action Adventure, bounces it back over to Marisol, who hits a 2-pointer in Disney. Kevin has a 3-pointer in Tom Hanks. Marisol responds with a 3-pointer in Romantic Comedies. And Kevin Smith ends up being ruled incorrect in a 5-pointer in Comedies, which does give Marisol the win with a final score of 19-18, where Marisol McKee answered 14 of 15 questions for 93% accuracy and scored 86% of 23 available points. Kevin Smith answered 11 of 16 questions for 69% accuracy and scored 64% of 28 available points. So this sets things up very nicely for Marisol to come from being in her sophomore season to be the next potential singles belt holder and the first time that a woman has held it. Rachel Cushing and Clark Wolf both came very close, but Marisol is putting up a very strong bid to be the next one to take it. So we shall see what happens later on down the season. And if you watched all the cutscenes and all the extra stuff with Kevin Smith, I don't think this is the last we have seen of him by a long shot.
No, certainly not. And I'm not going to touch on the controversy too much. I will say that I was not a fan of the Kate Blanchett challenge. That was not a good challenge. But Lady Justice Marisol McKee has such a good shot at becoming the first ever singles champion who's a woman. I think that's incredible. And I'm kind of rooting for her to do it, even though Dan Earl is on my fantasy team. But I really think she has a good shot. She has so much momentum. And I don't think this was even her best match. I don't think it was up to her potential, really. She had a rough round.
We've seen her sweep round 2s before. So she went away from a broad category in the 1980s. And there were some obscure movies in the Reese Witherspoon filmography. Hers is deceptively deep if you look at what kind of credits she has in her filmography. So
she's definitely had an accomplished career. Definitely a lot of movies.
Definitely a lot. So not totally surprised that there were a few in there that she had to kind of think twice about. But yes, she is definitely still. She is showing that she is well-deserved of this number one contender shot, and now she gets a shot at the title. And she will be facing either Dan Murrell or Ethan Irwin. That will be determined in the pay-per-view that is upcoming this week. That will be released on Friday. But we're not done with this event yet. We have one final match, the return of the teams matches in live studio with the buzzers. We're talking about Shazam and Corruption Part 2. Oh goodness. Let's just dive into this. There's a lot to talk about here. All right, round 1. Shazam is up by 3, 18-15. Bibiani, Chance, and Meyer all go perfect. Perfect rounds plus the bonus, so we have 9 across there, and then Kalinowski misses 2 questions to come away with 6 points in that, which gives them that discrepancy of 3 points coming out of that third round. Coming into the second round, Shazam does first to have Corruption spin first. They take Mixed Bag IG on their first spin. An interesting category, but is allowed with all the IG slices being in play. Corruption ends up coming away with 8 out of 12 points in that round. They check down the multiple choice, and they give up a 1 point and 2 point steal at the final 2 questions there in that round. Coming over to Shazam, they end up taking the 2000s on their first spin. They come away with 11 out of 12 points, checking on the multiple choice once, but not giving up any steals. So this is the first swing in the match to where Shazam gains an additional 6 points to be up 9, 32-23. Now, you think, oh my goodness, there's no way that Corruption can pull this out? Not so fast. This is a 5 round. There's still a lot more to go. Coming into the betting round, for intensive purposes, Shazam spins Nicolas Cage, and they both answer correctly for Shazam betting 2 points and Corruption betting 3 points respectively. Smart move, they're down, which gives Corruption a gain of 1, and that then puts Shazam still up by 8.
It's honestly also very smart for Shazam to bet 2 points instead of 3, because I feel like we've seen in the past that Shazam in particular have played a little bit conservative when they're up in points. So it's very interesting to know that they didn't go all the way, bet all 3 points. So
absolutely, yes. And I mean, you're coming in here with a 9-point lead. You can afford to be a little conservative, even if they are able to hit the full 3 points. Again, they've only gained 1. You're still up by 8. So, but again, this is now in person, which means we are back to buzzers. And this is where things got interesting, because Bibiani gets to the first question. Question number 1, he gets correct. They get no more incorrect the rest of the round, so they gain 1 point in that round. Chance Allison answers the next 4 questions correctly. So an additional 4 points added to Corruption's score there, which means that Shazam is now only up by 5, 35-30. So, again, still 5 rounds. Final round, Mike Kalinowski hits a 2-pointer and scores the soundtracks. Chance hits a 3-pointer in 2000s. It bounces it back over to Shazam. Shazam hits a 2-pointer in crime, and Corruption collectively hits their 5-pointer in horror. Bounces back over to Bibiani, who hits a 3-pointer in remakes and reboots. They're now tied at 40 at this point. Shazam misses their 5-pointer in Pixar. We are tied at 40 going into sudden death. Are you not entertained at this point? Of course, Shazam and Corruption go to sudden death. Well, coming into sudden death, we end up going a total of 7 questions into sudden death. And with the way the teams is, it's basically back to round 1 format. Everybody's answering individually. Everybody misses question number 4. So there's no change there, but everybody but Bibiani misses the 7th question, which does give Shazam the win and the defense with a final score of 51-50. It's the Quirky Mercs numbers apparently this year, where Shazam answered 41 of 45 questions for 91% accuracy and scored 79% of 65 available points. Corruption answered 37 of 45 questions for 82% accuracy, scored 81% of 62 available points. Very interesting to see such a low percentage point earned from Shazam, but the reason for that is they missed their 5-pointer, so automatically that's 5 points out of contention. But the difference with the buzzer round and, actually in the speed round in general, in accuracy, I only count the points or the questions that a competitor buzzes in for or attempts to answer inside of a speed round, versus the potential points earned, I include all the available points in that round. So Shazam missed out on 4 potential points inside that speed round by only attempting to answer 1. It didn't count against their accuracy, but it does count against their potential points earned. That's how I've decided to do it. So that is how you're seeing such low numbers there on Shazam's side. But due to the sudden death round, they are able to pull out the win, and they have now defended. But Korruption kept chipping away at that lead after round 2. You could very easily get so defeated being down that low and down by that much. But Korruption kept trying to gain an advantage, and it ended up saving them. They made it to last into round sudden death, where anything can happen. Yeah.
What a match. What a match. Listen, in the entire storied the entire storied history of the Schmodown, we've seen so many great teams. We've seen the Patriots, we've seen the Shirewoods, we've seen the Odd Couple, we've seen Korruption. I truly believe that we have never seen a better team than Shazam. They are just borderline unstoppable. They have such a good head for strategy, as well as just pure knowledge of trivia, that I don't understand how any team can beat them on their best day. Like, I just don't think that's possible. And Korruption played a hell of a game. They scratched and clawed their way to sudden death, but in the end, Shazam is just such a powerhouse of a team that I'm so impressed.
Absolutely. And it is worth noting, too, that even before we went into sudden death, these guys were tied at 40. That broke the high score record for a 5-round game with buzzers in the old MTS records. The last high score was 37, actually scored by Korruption against the Shire Wolves in their retirement match. So we now have a new record. I mean, it's going to get kind of differently because it went into sudden death, but if you look at their score when they went into sudden death with just the straight 5 rounds in the buzzer format, they broke the high point record. So that's very, very impressive.
I am both surprised and also not surprised at all.
Very true. Yes. Korruption just seems to bring out their best against the top tier competitors, and you try and say, oh, there's no way they can beat them. Well, they had equal opportunity to in that sudden death round, because they did not give up, even with a rough round 1 for Mike and a rough round 2 for them in their spin. So they're a scrappy team, and they're also likely going to be ending up in the teams tournament. And
they played so well. And also, I just want to give props to Chance, who's clearly been working on his buzzer game for the past year and a half. So he's definitely been preparing for this moment, and he definitely showcased that in this match.
Absolutely. Well, guys, with that, oh my goodness, 39 minutes, and we got through all 7 matches. Woo-wee! I am impressed. But that is going to do it for this session here. Again, guys, be sure to check out the Call Live episode that we did the other day. Check out my rookie report, the second one that I put out last week. And make sure that you have hit the like button on this video. Make some comments. What did you think about these matches? What were some things that you noticed I brought out in stats that surprised you? And make sure that you're also subscribed to this channel if you are not already. Nat, where else can we see you on this channel?
You can see me on Twitch, our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/calltoaction, on Wednesdays from now on. Twitch Wednesdays at 6 Pacific. And also, I have this show called No Chill. We just recently posted an episode, Kaiser. It is really good, really, really good. And I am happy to announce that we are premiering a new episode August 13th, Friday. It's Chandra Ganapani. Probably our most anticipated episode. So keep an eye out for that, and also check out all the past episodes that we've done because we're amazing and you should watch it.
Yes, it is definitely good for a laugh. The concept of taking the Between Two Ferns and applying it to Schmoedown, just a brilliant idea. But again, guys, that is going to do it. But we're going to be right back here next week on Mondays, 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern, breaking down all the matches. Thank you guys all so much who have been joining in live and those of you coming back here on replay. Always enjoy doing these for you guys. But until next time, for myself, Nat, and the entire Call to Action crew, this has been After Action Report, and we are signing off for now.